Power and income was most equal in America between 1924 and 1964. This is why America is in the state that it is in, because this is a largely not factual statement. If you believe that when Jim Crow laws were active and white women only were just beginning to have the right to vote, you're telling us who you think America was equal for and that everyone else was in the position they deserve to be in. This is why Make America Great Again was a not so subtle dog whistle on who equality is for and who else is in their natural place. This is why I talk about unwritten rules, because I talk about the organizations, workplaces, and schools in America being set up during this time where only one small group was allowed in, operate in unwritten rules. Because when laws pass to say, hey, you have to let more people in, that is how they've been gatekept. They weren't a culture fit. They didn't do it exactly like me. Oh, maternity leave? No. We'll be the only developed country in the world to not have it. And somehow, culturally, we're going to be okay with it. There's also the assumption here that these white men weren't immigrants. During this time, a lot of white men were immigrants. A lot of them were German, coming over here for a certain period of time. It was actually, for a while, started to get banned to speak German because of what was going on in Europe. There was stigma. And people loved to roll out, but the Irish were treated poorly, the Italians, and now you're saying the Germans. Yes, and that's why whiteness is a social construct that has always been about power and not your actual culture, not where you actually come from, and certainly isn't based on biology. There were also a lot of white men during this time in the IWW. Industrial Workers of the World, which right before this time, Woodrow Wilson was in charge of suppressing via our mail, because we didn't have internet and all that yet. The propaganda began that anything that was pro-labor rights was communism and therefore dangerous. And a lot of white men had a problem with this because in World War I is when America started to realize the money that could be made in being the war machine. And so it was the rich who could buy these factories who were like, hey, let's have these white dudes work in unsafe conditions, make weapons, sell them to both sides. The English caught us selling weapons to both sides in World War I. And when things heat up so much that we have to get involved as a country, we will send these workers to go die in that war because it's not going to be the wealthy, aka our President Bonespur. And a lot of those white dudes had a problem with that. Like, no, you're not going to make money off our labor that is also in dangerous conditions, pre-OSHA, and then send us or our boys, because yes, it was just boys at that time, legally, to go die while you make tons of profit and don't have to go fight. They got called communists. Also missing in your attempt here to be a very clear dog whistle while you're saying 1964, Civil Rights Act of 1964, we're also missing that we had a major tax system shift soon after this, Reaganomics. We used to tax corporations a lot more. When only white men were working for money, we did tax corporations. Then, when more people came into the labor market by force of the law, people rallying, soon after, tax brackets shift. Soon after, they start offshoring talent. All that manufacturing that America had an edge with because we were an ocean away from all the factories being bombed by the mustache man. Those got sent overseas for the profits of the few wealthy who were pretty much all white men because they were the only ones allowed in that time. And those rich white guys have ever since sent the message to people like this that you're not making money and you're not getting jobs, not because you never had to compete before, not because we offshored the jobs, not because we're evading taxes and increasing them on you, but because women and underrepresented people from other racial minorities and always the people who come from other countries, but we're not going to talk about where 98% of America comes from, they're the ones that are taking your money from you, and they're why you're miserable. Totally makes sense. So yeah, just cherry pick that immigration comment. Because it 100% makes sense that the handful of corporations that run America, led by these CEOs, the richest of whom is an immigrant himself, are only not paying you because they're busy exploiting labor from other countries. And as soon as you don't let them bring that labor here, they're definitely going to pull out of those sweatshops, and they're going to pay you a living wage with good benefits and not exploitation. Because for some reason, during all of this with immigration, and they weren't doing that anyway, some reason that's going to happen. And I say this as a white woman whose father was alive in at least half of this era. He's a boomer, who was still alive because it wasn't that long ago, and who was raised in Christian nationalism in the rural South in Florida. I both have tremendous empathy, and I know the tactics. And I have such mixed feelings about this information is freely available, because it is. And I also know that even me posting this on the algorithm on TikTok, now that it's US owned, it's probably going to get suppressed. Who knows with YT? That's all very intentional. I mean, that's part of we have this weird balance of information is there if you want to find it, and it's also not going to be fed to you naturally. You're going to have to look for it. But if you're going to leave comments like this, well, we know how we got here, didn't we? I must say, if there are any black folks watching this, I cannot comprehend how tired you must be. Because as a pale person, I'm sick of our own shit. I truly cannot grasp the daily constant fatigue you must have. Because, for fuck's sake,